Hey guys, thank you for joining me today. So, we are drawing and painting a transparent pastel butterfly. And while working on this butterfly, more so like during the painting portion, um, three like key things, kind of epiphanies, if you will. Like some of them I kind of understood, but then come to understand it a little bit more. Like three things I learned either for the first time or again when I was drawing and painting out this simple pastel butterfly. And the first one is so, you learn all these rules with watercolor and stuff like that. And one of them is, you don't want to fill any area that you're coloring in with watercolor, like with too much watercolor, too much water. It kind of dries from the outside in, and what will happen is it will kind of leave a ring around it of a little bit darker of that color if you overfill the watercolor. The more you kind of do an even layer of the watercolor, the less likely that ring is. Well, when you're doing kind of like this, the transparent butterfly, you kind of want that outside ring a little bit. So the more if you kind of overfill it a little bit more, or if you don't think you've used enough, kind of dropping some more water in it, it's going to kind of leave that darker ring on there. So you can see me at times, like right now I'm doing the left wing. When I do the right wing, I kind of come back and put some more water in it before I suck it all up. And it helps leave that outer ring a little bit more noticeable. So, most of the time you don't want that, like an outer ring to be shown if you're doing a bird or what have you. I mean, there's times that maybe you'll want to, but the point is that knowing that that's what happens, then you can use it to your advantage or make sure that you don't do that if that's not what you want to do. So that was one of the kind of things that I realized how much it actually does that doing this. Then the second thing is I always knew that when you have like a completely dry brush or a damp brush, like here, I'm sucking up water so that it's much more transparent in the wing. Well, if you do that with a super dry brush, you're not going to suck up as much watercolor or water than when you have a damp brush. And I knew that in a way, but what I didn't really realize is that if you're talking about like a damper brush and a less damp brush, the damp brush is going to even pick up more, which kind of that didn't make sense to me. I guess it should have, because like if it's dry, it doesn't hardly pick up as much. So there are times when I am picking up the water and watercolor from the middle, after putting it down, letting it sit for a second. And when it stops picking up as much, I'll pick it up and put it on the paper towel, and then pick up more and then wipe it on the paper towel and go back and pick up more. Well, if it quits like picking up as much as you want, if you rinse your brush off and then just kind of, blot the excess on the paper towel, not overly, but like blot it and then go pick up, you will pick up more. It's crazy. Like I did not realize it. Try it. If you don't believe me, it works. And I didn't realize it before, but I was doing it over and over again with all these wings. And so I really think that's why I was able to kind of, over and over again, I was like, oh my gosh, that really does make a difference. And I guess if you think about it, it's the same thing, just on a bigger level. I mean, I'm sure there's like science to it in some kind of way, that it always seems backwards to me. You would think, like a sponge or a brush, one that's dry, would suck up more water, but it's like, for whatever reason, is if it's wet and then wrung out, like that's what sucks up more versus dry. There's got to be some kind of science, or if you know like the science behind that, or what have you, like leave a comment below, because it's like it's kind of weird that it works that way. But these are the things, like when you know that, going into it, you can use those things to your advantage, in your pieces and stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that, like, you learn through experience, and you take that with you, like, that's not something that most of the time you're going to learn from a video and stuff like that. I'm trying to, with the videos, having people paint along and learn, but the little chunks of information that I get, that especially when I don't hear anybody else talking about it or anything, those are the things that I'm trying to bring to the table. So even if you've been watercoloring, because I've watercolored for a long time, and these things, some of them, like I said, I kind of knew, but I didn't realize like how much it actually did affect it, and to what degree. And so the last one is kind of more of a broader thing, but it's kind of just knowing how important it is to start out lighter than what you think. Every time it seems like I try to say, well, this is going to be, closer to the actual real color. Like, I don't need to go in with that, take up that much. Trying to save some time, basically, to do less layers or what have you. It bites me in the bum every single time. And so I have learned this lesson over and over again. And I'm trying not to learn it again. It's just the basic thing is, knowing how important it is to just, watercolor is not a quick medium. It takes time. And a lot of what takes time is the, drawing in between each layer. And so it makes sense. You do less layers, it's going to be quicker. But that's the whole beauty of watercolor, is the transparency, go shining between all of those layers and coming through. So if you cut a lot of that out, it's going to make a difference, but not only that, like, something happens, when you go too dark too fast with watercolor, and it's just, you can't go back on that. Watercolor can be forgiving in certain aspects, but really, for the most part, only if you're going slow and you're working your way up incrementally with those washes and stuff like that. Comment below if you disagree and it works different for you. But for me, like, every time I try to go a little darker, and I don't mean like, it can be, you can go a little crazy with doing too light of steps and stuff, and then there can be a look of like overworked, if you've made like 50 million layers. I'm talking about doing a huge jump and going really, really to the color almost close that it's going to be in the long run, too fast. Like, there's just so many reasons why it can and mess you up. You don't get a chance to let some of that show in between some of those layers, to show depth and that kind of stuff. It's just, for me, going slow, doing the layers, that's what lets the watercolors shine. And so here, talking about the butterfly that I'm doing here, did all the layers. And so right here I was doing lines on a couple of the things. A little tip, like, if you do one of the butterfly or the transparent, whatever it is, it worked easier, I thought, to do a little bit darker of a mix on whatever lines you wanted to show up. And still, I think I probably could have gone darker with those lines. I didn't want them to be like super noticeable, so I only went like a little bit darker on them, like these lines that are showing. But I probably could have gone a little bit darker, because there's lines on like various parts of it of the same color, which I still could have done and layered in there. But I hope you guys painted along, or paint something transparent with that transparent look, like the butterfly, a flower or something like that. Come visit again on the channel. Be bringing lots of stuff to you this year. But I appreciate you being here for the video. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully we will see you again on the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.